And at the end of the program, I got to meet the mother at grad, and I thought this student is not going to be happy with me because I, basically nagged. And they said I was the only reason they graduated because I called every day and got them out. And there were struggles they were having that I didn't even know, but just knowing that I wanted them to be there. So that's a huge impact.
How can a set of skills lead you down the path to success? That's what we're setting out to answer on the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm your host, Michael Sangster. Join me as we unpack how leaders around the world have taken training and skills and turned that into a lasting career. Now let's learn together. Welcome back to the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm Michael Sangster, your host, and I'm excited today because I'm joined by Robin Graham, the Director of People and Policy at Trillium College that has 5 campuses across Ontario, been around since the 1990s, doing a lot of incredible training, but also doing a lot of work helping other colleges get better. Andrew Jones, the president of the college, is on our board of directors at NAC and is helping other colleges, being a leader on talking about quality and standards, and is constantly pushing our organization to do better. So I wanted Robin to join us today so we could talk about a little bit about what's going on with Trillium College in Ontario. So Robin, welcome.
Mike, how are you?
Great. Monday morning, been down with that cold that's going around. It knocked me down for a couple of weeks, but I'm starting to feel human again.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Robin. You're over 20 years or around 20 years in the career college sector?
Yep, it'll be 19 years this year. And I started as a campus manager in Kingston. We had a growth years ago, and we had 2 regional directors. I became one of those, so operations kind of for half the province. A lot of change. And then for a time, we were purchased by an American college, Beckfield. And so I learned quickly accreditation. They have rather large accreditations for their nonprofit schools in the States, so they're for-profit. And that was like a huge learning curve. So now I've headed into compliance because this seems where the path is taking me, but I really enjoy it. And now I am, like you say, the director, which is basically our fancy way of saying HR and compliance.
What's funny, you mentioned the for-profit. We do a lot of work with CQ, our partner in the US, and we hear that for-profit, but we don't hear that in Canada very often.
We don't.
We try to use the regulated career college model because we want people to understand the level of regulation. So actually, let me touch on that for a moment, because 19 years. You understand the level of regulation that our colleges operate under in the province of Ontario. We're not fly-by-night, are we?
We are not, indeed. We are not fly-by-night.
It's extensive. Audits, student aid, the financial aid issues, they go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, plus all of your programs have to be approved. Am I correct that some of your even classes individually need to be approved when you reopen them, right?
Do indeed. So we have a compliance department, which I think not a lot of colleges have. So they specifically deal with compliance, and they roll up to me. And, every once in a while, one of them will say to me, I think everybody hates me. I said, everybody doesn't hate you. It's just because we're the department that constantly says no. We're not the fun department. We're the department that gives everybody the kind of framework where they have to live. So keep smiling. Nobody hates you.
You've been around the organization a while. You know what it likes. Not every student that walks into the door becomes a student, right?
Correct.
There is a process that you guys undertake, and there's no, okay, put them in, get them in a classroom, right? You actually try and align them to the programs and make sure that they're ready to study and ready to manage it in their own lifestyle. What's your process like at Trillium for that?
So we have career coaches. A lot of people are mission representatives. We call them career coaches because that's what we want them to do. Trillium's not a fit for everybody, and everybody's not a fit for Trillium. But even when we register our programs, we include that admissions interview as that's part of our admissions requirements. So everybody has to do it coming through. Every once in a while, you have a student who wants to apply for a type of provincial funding where they just need to get 3 school samples. So they try to call us and just say, hey, no, I just need the price. I just need the start dates. Say, no, you got to go through the process or we're not the school for you. So the student, they can either book online, they can book through our website, they can call, they can walk into one of the campuses, and then they're going to sit down with a career coach. So our career coaches This is one of our changes too that we've done over the past probably 3 years is they're specialized. So each career coach has no more than 2 or 3 programs where it used to be they could sell into any of the programs that we have. So
Hmm.
now they're specialists in 2 or 3 of the programs. They do interviews via Zoom, or they can also do them in person. When they do them via Zoom, they're reviewed, obviously by compliance, so we can ruin people's day again. But basically, we want the same message to be going through to everyone. This is the hours that you're going to be expected in school. um, we try to, through that interview, remind them, okay, so great, you have 2 kids. Are they school aged? Are you going to be able to have before and after school based on schedules that are coming up? So we want to make sure they're very clear on the expectations when they come through. No surprises.
You teach the PSW program. I assume there's a bit of an angle there around what the job looks like too when they come out of the program.
Indeed, there is. A lot of people, oh, I hate saying this, but like, I think due to COVID, which is like the most overused phrase I think on the planet, um, a lot of people do know what a PSW does. I'm not sure they know the gritty day to day, but they understand the overall. And so our career coach that meets with applicants for the PSW program, that's the only program she has. There's so many people that apply. And so she does that day to day. And she has her own dedicated financial aid person as well. They work as a team and they meet the students day to day.
So we wander back to that career coach. I assume after day one, they never see him again, right?
No.
No, not really, right?
No, not at all. And kind of, I mean, they move into academic operations as soon as the student becomes active. And in a dream world where it's much easier is if you can cut that so that they can now move on and work with the academics team. But they because of the relationship they built with that career coach, they always go back to them. The career coach will say, you know what, you need to speak to your academic manager for that, but I'm happy to connect you.
And when they come out the far end of the program, there's career coaching on finding employment.
There is. We have student employment advisors.
Talk to me about that a little bit. How many of those do you have, and what's the role they play?
We have 2 of them, and that'll grow as different things do. So they do 2 pieces. So the first part they do is they set up the placements for the students in any program that it is. They make sure they have their documents in place, any documents that need to be signed, immunizations, police checks, things like that. Just make sure they're packaged and ready to go. They have connections with both the students, preparing them to go, also with all our partner facilities. So in all the different programs that have placement, specifically the long-term care homes where the personal support workers go, they spend a lot of time with them, nurturing those relationships across the province.
That program has 300 hours in practical experience in the workforce, right?
It does.
Yeah, we're
Um,
pretty proud of that program and the kind of graduates, and it's amazing the level of hiring happens
there is.
right into where the placement is, right?
They're working job interviews, and that's what we prepare them for when they go in. And honestly, I can't talk about specific numbers, but I feel like PSW is one of the programs where if they want a job when they're done, and there's a job they can apply for, and they don't have a reason why, there's jobs available for them.
So let's talk regulations again. Let me go to your massage therapy program because that's a big program for you as well. I think you said that when we chatted earlier, 3 of your campuses are teaching the massage therapy programs. That's
Yes.
an accredited program, correct?
Ours is going through, we're just starting that process right now. So the programs have to be accredited by, I cannot remember, January 2027, I believe. So we've started that process now. Yeah, we're pretty confident we're running a good program. We went through last year the accreditation of the MedLab program. So that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of a new third party accreditation for us. So we learned a lot of things. And I think the biggest thing we learned is many of the things we were doing, we just weren't documenting them. So we put a lot of procedures in place now where we can document these things and you can trace through that we've been fulfilling.
Almost the old big move when everybody moved to ISO. We were doing it, but we weren't writing it down.
That's right. Got to write it down.
So, but I want to talk about the massage therapy. The Minister of Immigration made a broad statement talking about our sector and how we just operate above massage parlors. It's healthcare.
It is
You're,
healthcare.
you're training healthcare skilled trades workers, aren't you?
Yes. So the people that graduate from this program are regulated through the Regulated Health Professions Act, which is the exact same act that governs medlab technologists, nurses. They hold a license once they pass that exam. And by graduating from our program, you're able to challenge that exam at the provincial level.
And huge job opportunities.
Huge job opportunities. COVID actually saw, I'm going to keep bringing up COVID, and I probably think that's my HR, but it changed a lot of things. And when it first happened, there were so many regulations because we really didn't know enough about the disease. So we went hard, made a lot of changes. And I think a lot of massage therapists retired at that time, and it's left a hole. And these are, I mean, traditionally we think of things as dental assistants and personal support workers, nurses. That's who we think of as traditional healthcare. But really, massage therapy should be considered healthcare because it's overall. I mean, even the aesthetics program, which is not a regulated profession, it's still about wellness and treating yourself properly, and they're all connected, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of work going around on that field as well. But back to the massage therapy, practical again, working in the community alongside another registered massage therapist.
They do. They have two things. So each of the campuses that run the program also have a student massage clinic where they get their practice. They have a certain amount of hours that they have to gain by the end. And they run it just like a clinic. You can book your services online. You can call the campus. And you just get everything at a discounted rate because it's a learning environment. So the students go through health histories with the supervision of a registered massage therapist. In addition, they have to get outreach hours. So they're going to, community marathons, things like that, and learning how to treat different types of things.
I have had the pleasure of a few massages from career colleges when they're doing their training days for the community.
Yes.
And it's a very professional experience. And eased a lot of my back pain on a bad road trip out west one day.
Yes.
It was very helpful. It came in very helpful as I walked into Trillium College and they were doing one that day. And I thought, is there a slot open?
That's right.
And I took full advantage of it. You're also doing a lot of work around dental assisting. And we're spending a lot of time working with the Ontario Dental Association and other ones to talk about their workforce needs. They have huge workforce needs. What's Trillium College doing around dental fields?
So this is another one that's moving towards accreditation, which is probably good because it standardizes across the board. So 2030 is when everybody in offering dental assisting has to offer an accredited program. So that'll be the next progression for us. Dental's a little bit different because it is when you build the site, even the Ministry of Health has to come in because you have X-ray machine there. They have to, there's a whole bunch of regulated framework that we have with different parts of the government right now. There's HARP. You can get HARP certified, which if you take our course, the transcript says you're HARP certified by doing that. And HARP just basically is the healing arts of radiation. So it basically says that our X-ray machine meets the equipment and our curriculum meets the requirement. So the students have the certification when they leave.
You kind of walked there, so I'm going to go there. Massive capital investments involved in running these colleges, aren't there? Like you're talking about an X-ray machine that was $1,500.
Yes,
not even close, right? Was that right?
Add some zeros. Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. We use a little humor here, Robin.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars for pieces of equipment, right?
Definitely when you include like all the dental chairs, the lights. I mean, when you walk in, it looks like your dental office times 6 or 8, depending on how many chairs you have, like how many operatories are set up for it. But there's no point in teaching the course if you're not going to give them the proper equipment.
And you can't teach it without the equipment. And the government ensures that you have it all and it's in good working shape. And the auditors go through it all with you, don't they?
Yes.
Plus, in that case, you get accreditation too, and so you get another layer.
Yes. Another visit.
It's a message that we want to get out. We're talking a lot about healthcare lately because we're such an important driver of the workforce. But people don't understand the level of sophistication and the level of regulation that we operate under to protect the students and to protect the patients that are going to end up with the care, right?
Well, I was going to say, I think this is one of the, you're kind of touching on it. I don't know if you want me to jump, but I feel like that's literally my passion. Like what you're talking about in the sector is like, I want to see equity in post-secondary to understand, it's everything. It's, I don't like having a conversation with a student that, maybe has a degree from a public university and they come to us and all of a sudden we have to take attendance every day and they're getting in trouble if they're not coming every day, but they don't understand it's 2 standards. So you might not go to your classes anytime when you were at a public university, but you have to here. We have to report to OSAP when you're not there. It's all very regulated. Transfer credits, the equality of the diplomas even. So there's the Ontario framework, which sets out this many hours equals a diploma two. This, each one is different. And it's just because people don't know, they're not educated about it. So if we have a student who's applying to a public college and their only requirement to get in is that they've taken a post-secondary somewhere, we've had students turned down. I have personally called a public college and said, this is the situation. And I get to talk to the right person, the registrar, who's like, yes, obviously it's post-secondary education. They can absolutely use that. And they take care of it. It takes extra work. And it really depends on the public that's going to do that too.
There's a lot of bias. We're going to keep knocking that down. And unfortunately, last year we had a difficult issue around international students, which was not our fault, but we took the beating to begin with. And then over time, people realized that we were less than 5% of the international students, and we were not the ones causing the problems. Although I always say there were some issues in our sector as well. There were issues in all sectors. But we did not have a volume issue, that is for sure. So
we did not. I think we had 8 at the time when everything happened. We had 8 international students out of our 1,000 student body.
I laughed. I was on a local radio station here in Ottawa for one of the interviews I did. It was a busy month, and he asked me about the international students in our colleges in Ottawa, and I said, no problem. We've checked. We've talked to all 16, and they're doing well. And that's how many there were within the Cordon Bleu Institute and one other institute, and that was it. And Ottawa doesn't have the problems that we saw in Brampton and other towns and other cities that had massive, huge numbers. So it's well integrated in Ottawa. So let me go back to something I wanted to ask you about. Soft skills that you teach, that I think you mentioned attendance, but I think the class sizes and the intimate nature of our institutions, they leave with different skills that get them ready for work, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Talk to me a little bit about how you do that within your programs.
It's everything. It's really critical thinking skills. It is teaching people how to advocate for themselves. It's kind of everything kind of messed together. We always say to people, even people who go online, and I wasn't able to get a job and I went to school here, but sometimes we can't control. We can't control what the student, their personality, or we can try our best to have them be prepared for that. And sometimes people don't want to listen, and they learn when they graduate. And sometimes people are so open to it. I've had students who, I literally had one student who I talked to their mother almost every day. I had to make the student give me permission. And every day I would call and go, where is this student? I'm not going to name the person, although they're going to know who they are if they listen to this. And I thought I drove this student insane the entire way. I probably, not every day, but I probably talked to her once every 2 weeks through the entire program. And at the end of the program, I got to meet the mother at grad, and I thought this student is not going to be happy with me because I, basically nagged. And they said I was the only reason they graduated, because I called every day and got them out. And there were struggles they were having that I didn't even know, but just knowing that I wanted them to be there. So that's a huge impact. Like that's
you just walked me towards my favorite experience. It's a regulated career college graduation. They're special, aren't they? They're different. Special. They're different, aren't they? The crowd that's there, the people that's there, often first person in a family to graduate from post-secondary education, right?
Yes.
Have you got a story of a favorite student? Other than that one's a neat one, but is there something that reminds you to a grad that I tell everybody I meet, come to one of these graduations and just look around. We don't limit the crowds. Families send 10, 15 people. It's a party.
It is a party. I have a couple. There's one student in particular who I went to the graduation in Kingston, and we moved it a little bit in recent years. People seem to want some change. So we've added we have a selfie station now where you can go and take your selfie picture. The aesthetics classroom, has people who are, students that will do their makeup before their pictures, things like that. But this one student we have a photographer who's now retired, so we will be looking for somebody else. But he has in his, he brings his whole setup. They get their pictures that day. They pay for them. They just book online before. And he had a woman sitting in the chair, and she said, I'm just wondering, I did this for my kids. Would it be possible to have my kids in the picture with me? And he said, 100%, like have them come in. And they came in, and she had 7. And these 7 kids went all around her for her graduation picture. So it's pretty amazing.
I spoke at a graduation at the Algonquin Academy here in Ottawa, and the valedictorian, single mom dealing with cancer,
Mm,
got through the program. It just so many of these stories that I get from talking to people and going to these graduations that are absolutely incredible.
for sure. And you're not going to have the community if you're going to somewhere like, I mean, I don't want to throw a public under the bus, but a U of T where they have hundreds of thousands of students. This is not going to be, you're not going to have the personalized experience. You're not going to have the personalized support that we can offer.
It's not the same. It's not the same. But there's a role for everybody. It's not throwing anybody under the bus. There's a role for everybody. And we are masters at getting people back to work, retraining people in their 30s. I think last survey did, the average student wage was about 38 years old
Right.
across our sector. It's a different group of people.
It
And I
is a
try and
different
get
group.
people to know that. So I'm going to come back to you now for a minute.
Okay.
Talk to me about a skill that has made Robin successful. And
I
did you
think it's
gather it early in life or later in life? And like I know I'm an absolutely horrible administrator.
right.
And I keep
Nobody likes
trying to
to.
get better at it. I just lose focus on that kind of stuff. I've always had someone near me to do that because I'm not good at it.
Right.
Well, what's the skill? I can communicate with anybody. What's the
Hmm.
skill you've got that's made Robin successful?
I think it's, I would say communication as well. I mean, I feel like, I hope that I'm correct in saying this, is that the way I manage is I manage people to empower them. I don't want to be a 1950s manager barking orders and having things. I truly, some people use the word team loosely, but I really feel like my team is a team.
I appreciate that answer. Robin, let's just go a different direction here. You're talking to a student. Why would you recommend, ignore the where you work, why would you recommend going to a regulated career college in Ontario for getting an education? And who's the right kind of students, if you know what I mean?
I think I'd recommend regulated career college because you end up with a vocation. I mean, we talk about even on our website that you want a career, not a job. So we're talking about people going into the vacation they want. So
So then the next natural question is why Trillium? What makes Trillium special?
well, I want to say me. I'm just kidding.
It's not Andrew. We
So
know it's not Andrew.
I think that what makes us special is, I mean, we have quality labs set up in our school. We have fantastic instructors who are available to help students succeed. Everything from the moment you walk in the door. We have career coaches who are going to make everything, set the expectations for when you're going through. Yeah, it's everything. It's the whole support system.
I noticed you and Andrew come to our events, so I was going to point that out because you learn from the other colleges too, though, right? They do good things.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of
Absolutely.
sharing and learning that goes on in our sector,
There is.
and you guys have taken on a few campuses recently to try and help them get cleaned up and fixed up, and you're excited about that work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Coburg will be coming online shortly, and who knows what next?
Before I get to our last question, we ask every guest: is there anything else that you want to talk about or you want to say today?
I don't know. I think it's just it's kind of everything that we've talked about. So it is very important to me to get across how important career colleges are. Um, I mean, I talk about it all the time. I had, like I said, when we had 8 students who were international, I had friends asking me who aren't even in the sector, hey, I've been watching all this news. How many international students do you guys have? I'm like, 8. The day that the Toronto Star published the article that had the numbers that showed that it wasn't, we were not the bad actors that the politicians were accusing us of. My husband came in, who is a retired insurance person. He had nothing to do with this sector other than me. And he came in and he said, boy, are you going to love the front of the Toronto Star today?
There was a lot of work went into correcting the record, and we made sure we knew the numbers, but we made sure we waited till we have the IRCC, the Immigration Department's numbers, and we used their own numbers to prove that we were not the problem. And I got to say, we all hear about attacks on the CBC. The CBC did it first, and they went deep. And they took our numbers and they went away for a weekend, and they came back on Monday morning and said, we're removing you from the story. I said, interesting. Why? It's because the numbers stand up on their own. It isn't about you. And they went through all of our data that had been provided to us from Immigration Canada. We gave them the fresh, raw data. We gave them our analysis of it, and they came to the exact same conclusion. They spent 3 days really diving into it, and they wrote a couple of stories that said that we were not the problem. But sadly, the damage was done to our reputation, and we'll move forward from that, and we'll rebuild. Because the one thing I love about all of the college owners and presidents and teams, they're entrepreneurial too. They just keep going. They put their head down, and deal with the students in front of them, and get some more students in, and just keep going, because that's what's it's a passion. You're not getting rich. It is a passion.
It is a passion. I also don't understand when politicians do talk about it. If there was a restaurant that had some poor behavior, they would not say every restaurant in the province, right? They paint everybody with the same brush. They don't do that in any other sector besides
Nope.
ours, it seems.
You're true. It's absolutely correct. And we'll just keep plugging away and keep working through it. So we always finish on an important question, because I think I put this into the podcast because I think it reinforces what our sector is actually about. Tell me about a great mentor you have, and some people have named a few, and what kind of an impact it's had on you.
Well, I do kind of have a few. So I'm going to go way back. I had a grade 11 civics teacher who is now retired, but he was amazing. So he's probably the first person that actually taught me to critically think. He encouraged me to speak out when I saw something that was wrong, and he's obviously left a lasting impression with me that has lasted. I'm not going to name when I was in high school, but it was a considerable time ago, Mike. And then along the way, I kind of found myself as a manager because, different managers I'd had. I mean, I started working at Tim Hortons when I was 20 as a supervisor, and, I went to school and everything, but every manager I've had along the way, even when I wasn't a manager, encouraged me to take this path because of the way I interacted with people. So when I found myself at Trillium, almost 20 years ago, my boss now, I mean, he continued that because I manage my people, I hope, the way he manages me, which is basically encouraging them and empowering them. And he kind of showed me the importance of letting people make their own decisions, even if it's the wrong decision. I'm saying it more politely. What I would say to him is he lets me hang myself and then helps me when I come to him with a solution when I need to fix it. And I think that's important. And he's kind of showed me the value of letting people make mistakes is how they're going to learn. And when they come to you with a solution, you can help them fix it. And I hope that same type of wisdom I'm going to be able to impart onto my team as well.
Any others? You said you had a second mentor.
I think basically my boss now, my grade 11 civics teacher, and kind of every other manager that I've had kind of along the way. Yeah. Like I had very supportive managers along the way. I mean, I could have had terrible managers all the way, and I wouldn't have wanted to be a manager myself. So
it's a good way of looking at it. It's funny, but we like to get the conversations out there because I'm going to guess you've got a student you spoke about earlier that you were a mentor to. And they may not think of it exactly that way, but they've graduated because of you, right? And there's so much that goes on in our sector. And I think we're trying to encourage people to take a moment and think if there's somebody around them that just needs that little hand. Because we've all been fortunate and have had good luck in life, and it's a chance to pick somebody up. I still have mentors that some of them come up in a new way, in a new role, even though I'm in my mid-50s now, they pop up.
It's true. I agree.
So with that, Robin, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a good discussion about the sector and Trillium and about the important programs that you're training. But I think to me, what I'm left with was the conversation around quality and just the passion that you have for the sector and for training students. Thousands or tens of thousands in your time, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. You've had a huge impact, and I thank you for joining us today. And I look forward to next week's edition of the EdUp Canada podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to another episode of the EdUp Canada podcast. We release new episodes regularly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when they are officially out. If you love this episode, please leave a 4- or 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts so that others can also discover how a set of skills can lead to success. Thanks for learning with us.